Shalom, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to our daily biblical lecture. Uh, um, Let me start by saying that I would like to thank all of you that prayed for me when I was in the States giving lectures. I just got today the results. I don't have any COVID. Everything is fine. Everything is good. I still need to be in quarantine. So I was thinking of how we can take this corona and make it to a coronate. So we're going to do biblical lectures almost every day on different biblical accounts and biblical matters to try to illustrate the scriptures and to bring the Bible to life, of course. So I'm now actually in my home. I cannot even do live from the Ella Valley because I'm quarantined. So today I chose to focus on a very interesting event after I spoke with my dear friend Marty Nishi. What would he like to learn in those lectures? And he told me, you know what? Try to focus on Temple Mount. Let's explain to me the visibility and the different locations, different places in Temple Mount for me to understand better the scriptures. So I have decided to dedicate this first lesson to my friend Marty, and let's dive into Temple Mount using computerized images of one of the best softwares that I have ever seen, which I strongly recommend you all to download. So let's dive in. So today we are going to talk about the Temple Mount. And in order for us to understand better the ancient temple from the time of Jesus that was rebuilt by King Herod, I want to use a software which I highly recommend by the name Virtual New Testament. It is done by Brigham and Young University in Israel. And I think it's one of the best softwares that I have ever seen in terms of illustrating computer images of the temple during the time of Jesus and a little bit after him. So without further ado, let's dive into the software, Virtual New Testament. As you can see, this is the complex of Temple Mount. We are basically facing from the Kidron Valley, which is down here. This is the Kidron Valley, facing toward the west. Okay, we are east looking to the west. This is the holiest of holies. This is the boundary between the Jews and the non-Jews that are allowed to enter one side, second side. Okay, this is the Antonia Fortress right over here, holiest of holies, as we said. And this is the Royal Basilica, also known as the southern entrance to the temple. So we have the eastern side with the Gate of Mercy, south side, west side, and north side. So if we're going to take a look at the city of Jerusalem from above, the complex of Temple Mount is as such. As you see this big square right here, this is Temple Mount. This is right here. This will be the western wall of today. This is the southern excavation, which we're going to be there in a second. Mount of Olives over here, Antonia Fortress, Pool of Bethesda, the Palace of Herod right over here, the upper city or Mount Zion of today, Pool of Siloam, and City of David. Let's start with an overview of the city, looking from Mount of Olives towards the city itself. So we are now looking at Mount of Olives. This is the Gate of Mercy right over here. Today it is a sealed gate, but it's still in its site. Pool of Bethesda, as we spoke before, Antonia Fortress, Holiest of Holies, and the Royal Basilica. Let's dive into the Antonia to have a full overlook over the temple. So we are now standing. How cool this software is, isn't it? We are now standing on the Antonia Fortress, looking around us. All right. So this here, we are looking southbound. This is southbound. You have the upper city, the lower city, and as we said, the Royal Basilica. I'm now turning the camera towards the east from the Antonia Fortress, and we can see the Holies of Holies right over here. This is the barrier between the Jews and the non-Jews, and this is Mount of Olives right here in the back. These chain of mountains are way further to the east. This is the mountains of Edom and Moab. In real life today, they're not as close as it appears in this drawing, but this is, I think, the only thing the only kind of a remark I have on that amazing software. Continuing, we have here the Pool of Bethesda right underneath us. We're now facing northbound. This is facing north toward the tribe of Benjamin, and we just completed the full circle. Okay, let's go back again to the viewpoints, and now let's focus on the Pool of Bethesda. So we're now going to the Pool of Bethesda. This is the place, of course, as we know from the Bible, in John 5, the healing of the paralytic. We had two miracles that Jesus performed in Jerusalem. One will be the healing of the blind, which is in the Pool of Siloam, which is going to be the next slide. And the other one is the Pool of Bethesda, which is the miracle of the lame. So we are now at the Pool of Bethesda. This is facing southbound. This is the Pool of Bethesda, all this complex over here. And we're looking out at the Antonia. Here's the Antonia, and here's the Holies of Holies. Let's go back. And now let's go down all the way south to the Pool of Siloam. This is the Pool of Siloam. Okay, let's rotate. So this is southbound. This is the main entrance from the south to the city of David. Right here is the Pool of Siloam. Today, this section over here of the final steps is in situ. You can see it today while visiting in the city of David. Actually, this part over here, which is the eastern part of the Pool of Siloam, this is the part which is open to the public. This part here on the west, sadly, is being buried under an olive grove today. So let's rotate the camera. And we are now looking right here at this street, these stairs that you see over here. This is the street of the Song of Ascents. These are the streets that we know about, that people used to go from the Pool of Siloam, taking water from the Pool of Siloam, and make their way up. You can see the pilgrims make their way up to the temple, all the way up to Temple Mount. Now, why this is so important? When we read in the book of Psalms, the Song of Ascents, these are the ascents. I shall lift my eyes to the hills where my salvation comes. So look at this. Topographically speaking, we are looking up topographically to Temple Mount. My help comes from the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. So this is a literally geographical description. Let's look right now at the city of David, which is right underneath us, right here. This is the city of David. Okay, this is the city of David. Right here, this ravine called Theropeon. Okay, Theropeon. This is the main street that led to Temple Mount. We have Kidron Valley on the east. We have Pool of Siloam. We have City of David, and this street that led into the temple. Right here, we can see the southern steps of the temple, which is the end of the Song of Ascents. This is the southern steps. And from here, people used to go into the city, into the temple. And this is where we have also Gate Beautiful. Let's review this. We are now basically at the end of the steps. Okay, we just climbed from the city of David. We are now facing northbound. This is the western wall right over here. Okay, and we climbed all the way up from the Pool of Siloam into a major interchange, which is called the Robinson Arch. Today, it is located at the southern excavation, what we know as the Davidson Center. So for us to understand, today, you see only this remain right here. This will be Robinson Arch. This whole arch had collapsed because of the temple falling down after the Great Fire of the year 70 AD. And the reason why we have this huge interchange is because you have to remember that during the pilgrimage, we had almost 1 million people in the city. We're talking 2,000 years ago. You need to control the entry of such a huge magnitude of people into the temple, and hence the main interchange of the people that came from the Pool of Siloam. If you're going to look a little bit to the east, look at this. This is the main plaza that this in this software, we are missing a few very crucial elements, which are ritual bath in this area. Today, we know about this. The ritual bath over here, if you remember the mass baptism in Book of Acts, after the Pentecost, people were baptized, and this is actually the birthplace of the church as an institute. So right here, we are looking at the main plaza, which was housing a lot of ritual bath. And then you walk through the steps, which a lot of you today know them as the Southern Steps, and you enter into the temple via Gate Beautiful. This gate today is cut in half right here. Right here, we have the walls of the city that cut the gate in half. We are looking southbound towards City of David. This is City of David of today. And this is the main street that led up, the Theropeon, as we spoke about it in a second. Behind us is Bethlehem, and the chain of mountains beyond that, this is mountains of Hebron. Let's complete the circle. We have the upper city. We have here the palace of King Herod. And we have the main bridge, which is called the Wilson Bridge, connecting from the upper city, with the place of the priest, into the temple. Let's have a quick view from the roof of the temple. Again, this is the Antonia looking down towards the temple, and here from the other side, you see this? This is the Barclay Bridge. I was just talking about, sorry, the Wilson Bridge. I was just talking about it. And here we have the remaining of the street. Right down here, according to our understanding, this is the place of the tossing of the booth of the money changers. So after we've seen all of that, let's review again what we just saw. We started with Mount of Olives, overlooking the temple. Then we went to the Antonia, and we saw all around us the complex of the Temple Mount, Upper City, the Palace of Herod, and so on and so forth. We continued to the Pool of Bethesda, the miracle of the lane in John 5. And then from there, we jumped to the Pool of Siloam, which is here. This is the Pool of Siloam, okay? We walked through the street all the way up to the Southern Excavation over here, where we have seen the main interchange of the Southern Excavation and the Hulda Gate, or the Southern Steps. Right here, we spoke about the mass baptism, okay? This is the main bridge that connected between the upper city, or the city of the priests, to the temple, and again, the Antonia Fortress. Now, let's go into the temple itself. So we are now looking at the Royal Basilica right over here. This is the place that, according to tradition, the place where Jesus argued with the leaders of the Pharisees at the age of 4 and then at the age of 12. So we are now looking at the temple itself. This line over here is the perimeter between the Jews and the non-Jews. We actually found this perimeter that tells you beyond this point, non-Jews are not allowed. So a lot of people ask me, can it be the Temple Mount was not on Mount Moriah, but actually down at the Gihon Spring? Well, this discovery right over here basically disproved this assumption, because if Temple Mount was not the house of God, was not the place of the temple, then we wouldn't find this barrier saying in Greek and in Hebrew, no, that this is the limit between the Jews and the non-Jews. We would have found this in the city of David, not in Temple Mount. Since we founded the Temple Mount, there's no dispute that our temple was actually where we believe to be today, in this section where is today the Dome of the Rock. Let's look at the complex of the temple itself. We're going now into the temple. So again, we have the Antonia. I'm facing westbound. This here is the Holies of Holies. I'm facing southbound. These are the entry of Hulda gates, one for the people who leave, and then the other for the people who enter. Again, the famous barrier we talk about, the Royal Basilica, and the place where Jesus confronted with the Pharisees. Continuing our circle, Mount of Olives right here. Today, when you come with the buses, this is the viewpoint you're going to see. And when we are pointing down from the city of David at all these caves on the mountain, all these caves are tombs from Mount of Olives, dated way back to the time of King David, and even a little bit before that. We are continuing our circle, Pool of Bethesda, right over here, Antonia, right over here, and of course, the temple itself. Let's dive into the temple. Let me go back. Let's take another viewpoint of the temple as we go inside. So we are now facing, this is a really, really cool app. You definitely want to use that. We are now facing from the east to the west, okay? As we walk into the temple, we just got into the temple to the main courtyard. Okay, we have the holies of holies right over here. Let me go up to the stairs. Here on those stairs are the stairs of the Levites. We know that this is where the Levites used to play the trumpets and the harps. This is it. This is on the entrance to the main temple. Let's face now to the east. We just came from here and we entered into the main temple. This floor today, we know did not look like this. How do we know this? Because of the sifting project, we actually found the real floor, the real tiles of how it looked like. This is what we call an opus sectile. Again, this software is not updated, but again, this is one of the few remarks I have on this amazing software. Our friends from the Mormon University did very, very, very well. So let's continue into the temple as we walk up to the place of the Levites. Here we have the altar, the main altar, right over here with the ramp. If you remember in scriptures, stairs are not allowed. Why? Because back then people didn't wear underwears. So if you're walking on stairs and you have no underwears, then your private parts are being displayed on the way up to the ramp. And in order to keep it more modest, the command in the Bible was to build a ramp. So you're not going to have this lifting of the feet. So this is the main altar with the eternal fire right next to the temple itself. And let's go into the holies of holies. So imagine we are the priests at the Day of Atonement. This is the veil that we know from the Bible that was torn in half. And now we're entered into the temple. Oops. In the temple itself, we have the menorah. Right here, the menorah. All right. And this is the veil that the Bible speaks about. And let us now go into... Oh, well. It doesn't let me do it because I'm not the high priest. Inside here, you have the incense of the holies of holies. I want to see in the sanctuary. There we go. Behind this veil, but we cannot go, was the Ark of the Covenant during the first temple period. Second temple period, we don't have the Ark of the Covenant. My understanding is that it was taken by Shishak, but this is just my understanding. I forgot the showbread right here, the table of the showbread right across from the menorah. And again, something I want to speak about what was found here. As you can see, the base of the menorah, of the lamp, is actually not correct. Because today we know for a fact that the lamp itself had a tripod. We know this from drawings that we found dated to the time of Jesus. One of them will be in Sepphoris. The other one will be in Magdala. There's also one from Beit She'arim, which is in the north part. But we know today for a fact that the base of the menorah was not an octagon. It was actually a tripod. Another thing that we need to remember, these pictures of lions could not have been in the temple because of the second command of no picture of animal or a human being is allowed to be in the presence of God. So these are artistic interpretation of what was in the Holies of Holies. We know for a fact that this could not be. It could have been leaves. This is definitely kosher. Leaves, vines, flowers, that kind of ornaments. So let's go back again and review what we have seen so far. Again, we started with Mount of Olives, overlooking the West Bank. Then Antonia Fortress, right over here, the place of the trial of Jesus according to tradition, although there are new studies that it was done here at the Palace of Herod. This is going to be for the next lecture. Pool of Bethesda, Pool of Siloam, the Road of the Pilgrimage, Southern Steps, the main plaza where the church was born, the Robinson Interchange, the Wilson Bridge between the Upper City and the temple complex itself, which is made out of the Royal Basilica, the place of the confrontation of Jesus against the leaders of the Pharisees, the complex of the temple, and of course, the holies of holies. After we have learned all of this and we have seen all of this, now I can come and explain why the Western Wall is the most important above all other retaining walls that are still in exist. Today, when you look at Temple Mount, all of these retaining walls, the North Wall, the East Wall, the South Wall, and the Western Wall, they're all intact and they're all from the time of Jesus. So how come the Western Wall, this tiny little part right over here, how come that this Western Wall is so important to us? Why we signify this rather than all the other walls? Well, the reason is if you look very carefully, you can see that the temple itself was at the center of the mount. However, Holies of Holies was facing more towards the west. So the closest point you can have to the Holies of Holies will be the Western Wall. And that is why today the most significant place to Judaism and of course to Christianity is the Western Wall and not the Southern Wall, nor the Eastern Wall, nor the Northern Wall. So friends, this was a quick overview of Temple Mount and the city of Jerusalem from the time of Jesus. Tune in for the next episode, which I will explain about the siege of how Titus and his men entered into the city and burned down the temple. Shalom and God bless from the Ela Valley.